The drums of war echo, but a different kind of battle is brewing within Ukraine's political heart. Just recently, the world watched as Prime Minister Dina Samihan stepped down after more than 3 years at the helm during the grueling conflict with Russia. On the surface, it appears to be a significant shift, a new chapter for a nation under siege. But dig a little deeper, and a more complex, perhaps even unsettling, narrative emerges. Is this truly a changing of the guard, or merely a strategic reshuffle designed to consolidate power? Many observers, both inside and outside Ukraine, suggest that despite the Prime Minister's resignation, President Volodymyr Zelensky remains firmly in control, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. This isn't just speculation. It's a sentiment resounding by analysis who points to Zelensky's continued influence and his controversial decision to postpone elections for nearly 2 years, citing the ongoing war. While the war undeniably presents unprecedented challenges, the lack of a democratic mandate raises questions about the long-term health of Ukraine's political institutions and the nature of its leadership during a protracted conflict. Historically, nations facing existential threats have sometimes seen a centralization of power, but the duration and scope of this postponement are drawing increasing scrutiny. Adding another layer of intrigue to this unfolding drama are persistent reports of Ukraine preparing to potentially relocate its government and President Zelensky from Kyiv to the western part of the country. This isn't just a logistical exercise. It's a stark indicator that the capital's security might no longer be guaranteed. The implications are profound. If Kyiv, the historical and political heart of Ukraine, is considered unsafe for its leadership, what does that say about the broader security situation? Whispers of Zelensky potentially seeking refuge abroad, perhaps even in France, have circulated for months, notably from sources close to President Donald Trump. While these remain unconfirmed, they underscore the precariousness of the situation and the constant calculations being made for the safety of the nation's leadership. This potential relocation strategy mirrors historical precedents where governments in exile or temporary capitals were established during wartime, but it also highlights the grim reality of a conflict that continues to threaten the very core of the state. Amid this backdrop of political maneuvering and security concerns, President Zelensky has quickly moved to nominate First Deputy Prime Minister Yulia Sydenko as the new prime minister. This appointment is widely seen as a strategic choice, designed to ensure loyalty and continuity. Furthermore, a wider cabinet reshuffle is anticipated by the end of July, with at least 3 of Zelensky's closest allies expected to assume key ministerial positions. This consolidation of power is a clear signal of Zelensky's intention to maintain a firm grip on the reins of government, ensuring that his vision and directives are implemented without internal dissent. The rumored consideration of former Prime Minister Dina Samihan for the role of Minister of Defense further illustrates this intricate dance of power, where even those who step down may find themselves repositioned within the president's inner circle. This suggests a careful calibration of influence, where loyalty is rewarded and strategic alliances are maintained. The internal political shifts in Ukraine are happening under immense external pressure. A former advisor to a Ukrainian president recently issued a grim warning. Kyiv might not be able to hold out for 50 days, a time frame reported set by Donald Trump for Russia to sign a peace agreement. This stark assessment underscores the urgency of the situation. The EU's foreign policy chief has echoed similar concerns, emphasizing that 50 days is far too long given the relentless civilian casualties. Ukraine finds itself caught between the hammer of Russia's military aggression and the anvil of demands from its Western allies, particularly the US and UK. This intricate geopolitical dance means every internal decision in Kyiv is scrutinized through the lens of international support and strategic alliances. The pressure to demonstrate progress, both on the battlefield and in governance, is immense, and any perceived misstep could jeopardize crucial aid. Zelensky's leadership style, particularly his preference for appointing loyalists, is a recurring theme in discussions about Ukraine's governance during the war. This approach, while ensuring stability and adherence to his directives, also raises questions about the breadth of perspectives within his administration and the potential for groupthink. The new government's stated focus on boosting domestic arms production and economic reform is certainly ambitious, but skeptical abounds given past unfulfilled promises. Ukraine's economic situation remains dire, with the country requiring at least $40 billion for 2026 to cover its budget deficit. This staggering figure comes despite receiving hundreds of billions in international aid since 2022, much of which has been channeled into defense and maintaining the administrative apparatus. The video draws a poignant parallel to the situation of South Vietnam, highlighting the precarious balance between fighting for defense and being heavily reliant on external aid, a dependence that can at times feel like a double-edged sword. This economic vulnerability is a critical factor shaping Ukraine's ability to sustain its war effort and rebuild its shattered infrastructure. The long-term implications of such massive debt and reliance on foreign assistance are significant, potentially impacting Ukraine's sovereignty and economic independence for decades to come. The constitutional expiration of Zelensky's presidential term nearly 2 years ago, without new elections, continues to be a contentious issue. While the war is cited as the reason, the question lingers. Is this simply a pragmatic decision born of necessity, or is there an underlying fear of losing power in a democratic contest? This debate touches upon the fundamental principles of democracy versus the exigencies of wartime leadership. International legal frameworks often allow for extraordinary measures during national emergencies, but the extended suspension of democratic processes can erode trust and legitimacy. The international community, while largely supportive of Ukraine, is also keenly aware of the need for democratic accountability, especially as the conflict continues. Despite these internal political shifts and economic challenges, Zelensky has made it clear that Ukraine's military strategy remains aggressive. On May 14, 2025, he announced that Ukraine will continue and expand attacks deep into Russian territory, a declaration made shortly after renewing US military aid was confirmed. This signals a determined effort to take the fight to the aggressor, disrupting supply lines and military infrastructure within Russia itself. Ukraine is actively preparing for new long-range attacks and is set to receive hundreds of German-made long-range weapon systems since late July. This influx of advanced weaponry will significantly enhance Ukraine's strike capabilities, potentially altering the dynamics of the conflict. The United States, under Donald Trump, is reported considering its first financial aid package for Ukraine since Trump's second term began, potentially utilizing remaining funds from the previous administration, or more controversially, frozen Russian assets. This financial lifeline is crucial for Ukraine to sustain its military operations and maintain its economy. The debate around using frozen Russian assets for Ukrainian reconstruction or military aid is a complex one, with significant legal and ethical implications, but it highlights the innovative and sometimes desperate measures being considered to fund the war effort. The ongoing conflict has also highlighted the critical role of information warfare and the psychological impact on both sides. The narrative control, the dissemination of news, and the battle against disinformation are as crucial as the physical fight on the ground. Ukraine has been particularly adept at leveraging social media and international media to garner support and maintain a strong public image, while Russia has also engaged in extensive propaganda efforts. The psychological toll of prolonged warfare on the civilian population, the soldiers, and even the leadership is immense, impacting decision-making and long-term societal well-being. Ultimately, the situation in Ukraine remains a complex tapestry woven with threads of political ambition, economic struggle, military strategy, and international dependence. The resignation of the prime minister, the consolidation of power by Zelensky, the ongoing military escalation, and the relentless need for international aid all point to a nation at a critical juncture. The stick and carrot approach from Washington, as the video concludes, continues to be a defining factor, shaping Ukraine's responses and its path forward. Will Ukraine emerge from this conflict as a stronger, more democratic nation, or will the pressures of war and the allure of centralized power lead to a different, perhaps less desirable, outcome? The answer remains to be seen, but the world watches, holding its breath, as Ukraine navigates its uncertain future. What do you think the future holds for Ukraine given these complex dynamics?